Republicans will use this to say, why are you so scared of ICE agents at the polls? Are there unlawful people voting in elections?
America, Democrats spent 4 years telling you that voter fraud is a myth, that non-citizen voting is a Republican talking point with no evidence behind it. Two Pakistani nationals in New Jersey just got federal indictments for voting in the 2020 presidential election. They voted. Then they applied for citizenship, lied on a federal form, sat in front of USCIS officers, raised their right hand, and lied again. And the USCIS only caught them because they tried to become citizens, not because any election integrity system flagged them. Democrats are now in court fighting every single tool that would have caught them before they voted in the first place.
Because unless the court upholds his executive order, there will be tens of millions of new citizens born to the illegal immigrants who are here, who will then be entitled to all our benefits, schools, health care, etc., including voting rights. And we all know that's the holy grail for the Democrats.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Mohammed Muzuzamo, 37 years old, and Muhammad Sakil, 62 years old, both Pakistani nationals, registered to vote in New Jersey as citizens on a registered form. They certified that they were U.S. citizens, approved. They voted in November 2020. The presidential election, the one that Democrats certified as beyond any question. Both men later filed an N-400, the federal application for naturalization, which requires you to swear under penalty or perjury that everything on that document is true. Both wrote that they had never registered to vote or cast a ballot in any election. The USCIS already had the 2020 records. They called both men in for interviews, placed them under oath, then asked them directly. Both swore again that they never voted. FBI, Homeland Security, and USCIS worked on the case. Both men now face up to 10 years. Here's what nobody in the mainstream media wants to say out loud. No election integrity mechanism caught them. The voting system let them register. The voting system let them vote. USCIS only found out because they voluntarily applied for citizenship, and they compounded the original fraud by lying twice more. Without that citizen application, the 2020 votes go undetected permanently. Now watch what Florida's own verification system found when it ran its own checks.
According to the state's Office of Election Crimes and Security, in 2025, the state found 198 likely non-citizens who illegally registered or voted in the state of Florida. That's out of the over 13 million people on its voter rolls.
That's using the tools Florida already has. Think about how many states don't have those tools at all. 191 in one state in a single year with current verification systems. Nebraska's Secretary of State confirmed that their office can't verify citizenship for 2 or 3% of the registered votes through the DMV. That's not fraud by itself, but it's a gap. And the New Jersey case is what lives inside that gap when nobody's checking. Watch what Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis said he expects the moment he tried to close it.
And you know what happens on all these? I sign it, they sue us.
And that is exactly what happened.
DeSantis called his shot from the podium. They proved him right before he left the building. Same day, same hour, League of Women Voters, the ACLU, Florida Rising, Common Cause, and the Hispanic Federation walked straight from the signing to the courthouse, arguing that requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote will harm elderly people, it will harm minorities, and it will harm women who change their name after marriage. Okay, those edge cases the law already has processes for, but you can use the exception to argue against the rule when the rule is what you actually want to stop. That's one lawsuit against one state. What the DNC filed at the federal level is a separate operation entirely. While the Florida lawsuit targeted citizenship verification at registration, the Democratic National Committee opened a second front. They filed nearly a dozen requests to the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Defense, demanding to know whether federal agents would be deployed near polling places on Election Day. 5 months passed. When full responses didn't come, they sued. Listen to exactly how CBS correspondent framed both sides.
Democrats want to argue this is voter suppression by another name, that it chills, it intimidates voters. Republicans will use this to say, why are you so scared of ICE agents at the polls? Are there unlawful people voting in elections?
He said that Republican argument like it was rhetoric. Two Pakistani men in Jersey answered it with a federal indictment. The question is no longer rhetorical, and the DNC absolutely knows it, which is why they're in court trying to ensure the federal law enforcement can't be anywhere near polling locations before the first ballot drops, while simultaneously fighting the registration verification that would have flagged Mazu, Mazi, and Muhammad and Shak al-Zil or whatever their Pakistani names are before they even showed up. Now look at what DeSantis explained the Florida SAVE Act actually requires, because the lawsuit argument doesn't match what's written in the bill.
If the Save America Act federally were to be enacted, 99.7% of Florida voters have already complied with what that law requires. And so you're talking in Florida, very small number of people that would, and not to say they're not eligible. I mean, it may have been when they signed up or whatever. So that's pretty impressive that that's where we already are as a state, that this major piece of legislation would have an impact, but it would have a much smaller impact in Florida because we've already done what they're looking to be able to do.
99.7% already comply. The lawsuits are being filed over 0.3%. That system's flag. That 0.3% is actually where the New Jersey case kind of lives. The entire legal fight, ACLU, League of Women's Voters, Hispanic Federation, is over a fraction of a percent of what the new law would additionally verify. The Pakistani and New Jersey men would have been in that fraction. Muhammad Masumali and Muhammad Sakil registered and voted while that fraction stayed invisible. And the Trump administration moved to stabilize the national system.
The first expands on the SAVE program. That's the federal citizenship database.
The executive order yesterday creates impetus for the Department of Homeland Security to prepare databases that they will send to the states. And that data will be a list of Nebraska residents who are age 18 or older and who are U.S. citizens.
Evnen says Nebraska already utilizes it, so the lists established under this order will serve as a second check.
We've begun to utilize the SAVE databases for the 2 or 3% of Nebraska registered voters where we don't have citizenship status confirmed. We know that 97 or 98% of registered voters in Nebraska are citizens of the United States. We know that because we have data through the DMV, and the DMV checks citizenship.
They confirmed 97 to 98%, which means 2 to 3% is sitting unverified right now in their own systems. The SAFE Act creates a database. The citizenship verification connects registration to DMV records. The moment you register with false citizenship status and the DMV has no record of your naturalization, the system flags it. That's the mechanism that would have caught both New Jersey Pakistani and Mohammeds at step one before they even received the ballot. Democrats challenged this expansion in court. 2 lawsuits against 2 different tools, and those are just the ones already filed. The third piece goes deeper than election law. Laura Ingraham made an argument on her show that nobody in the opposition has directly answered because answering it requires admitting the math here.
Because as it stands right now, there is not a core base of elected power in our country that thinks your children have any more rights or any more protections than the child of a migrant born here the day after she crossed the border, her mother crossed the border illegally. A Congress that cared more about preserving the value of American citizenship, it would have clarified the citizenship clause long ago.
That's not a political argument. That's a legal description on how the 14th Amendment is currently applied. Your child born to 2 American citizens holds the same citizenship document as a child born the same day to a mother who crossed illegally the night before. Both are registered voters in 18 years, both potential SAVE Act cases, if the Parents Network teaches them that the Mohammed Square case, what they learned, that the registration system doesn't check.
Knowing good and well that an individual who is not a citizen of this country, they know that they can't vote. So why are we going through this dog and pony show when it's not needed?
Democratic State Senator Chevron Jones worries the legislation could disenfranchise a range of voters.
Mohammed Mazalami, or Mohammed Salami, knew he couldn't vote. Mohammed Sakil, the other Mohammed, knew he couldn't vote. They voted anyway, and then swore under oath that they didn't. They know they can't vote. That's the honor system. The entire Democratic argument against every citizenship verification measure boils down to trusting non-citizens with self-regulation. We're seeing how that's working out. The New Jersey indictment is a federal court document demonstrating what the honor system produces.
Is it a big issue in Florida?
When you look at size, it probably is not from a size standpoint, but you got to go back. We've had elections as close as 2 votes. We've had elections in Duval County tied. So you can never say it won't impact an election.
Tied elections happen. Bush versus Gore was 537 votes in the entire state of Florida. The math here is real. The lawsuits are real. And one of the provisions that closes the entire gap is sitting on a governor's desk right now.
We're also making sure that when you're providing information or identification, that we're using secure forms of identification. So we're not using, we tried to do this years ago, legislature didn't do it, but they finally did it now, about these student IDs. I mean, a student ID does not mean you are a resident of the state of Florida. Student ID means you're going to school. Now, most of our state universities, our undergrad is 90% in-state, system-wide, but still, that doesn't mean that that's everybody. So they're not doing that. You got to have a valid ID that proves that you are a resident of the state of Florida.
It's residents of the state. Student ID proves you're attending school. It proves nothing about your legal status. That's the gap that Mohammed Square used. Presenting documents that proves presence, not citizenship. The Florida SAVE Act requires documentation that proves you actually belong in the United States legally. Driver's license, passport, birth certificate, not a student ID from a school that accepts international students who can't vote. And Florida added one more layer that quietly closes the verification gap at the DMV level permanently.
Now, the bill also taking proof of citizenship a little bit further here. It will require the state's Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles to include legal status on any new or renewed driver's license or ID card.
Legal status printed on the license itself. The moment you hand it to a registration office, the check automatically happens without any separate database inquiry. The simple provision here eliminates the manual verification step. Legal status is on the face of the ID. The registration official sees it the same moment that they see your name. Mohammed Square, Mohammed Mazalzamo, Mohammed Salami, and Mohammed Sakil would have been flagged at the registration table not 2 years later when they tried to become citizens and accidentally confessed. Now watch what Trump's executive order does in the mail-in side of this, because the verification gap exists there too.
The second thing this executive order does is standardize mailing for early ballots. Evans says states will send the Postal Service a list of registered early voters. And the order also proposes barcodes are added to ballot envelopes.
Before the ballots are counted, the envelopes, once that envelope is confirmed as being legitimate, then the ballot is removed from the envelope and it's put in a pile with all the other ballots, and the envelopes are separated and kept separately from it. So we don't know how each person cast their ballot because the identifier is on the envelope and not on the ballot itself.
Barcodes on the envelope linked to the mail-in ballot to a specific registered voter, which means a flagged non-citizen registration gets caught the moment the ballot request hits the mail system, not years later. Democrats filed opposition to this executive order within weeks of signing. America, the Federal SAVE Act passed the House. Senate Democrats have the votes to block it. They will use them. Here's the part that should bother every voter, regardless of party. USCIS caught Mohammed Salami, Mohammed Mamel, and Mohammed Sakil, Mohammed Square, not because the election law worked, but because they made a mistake of applying for citizenship. There was no mechanism in most states that would have flagged their 2020 votes independently. Their names are in the federal court system today only because they got greedy and tried to become official citizens. Every single non-citizen who voted in 2020 and didn't apply for citizenship is still undetected. The Florida SAVE Act Act and the SAFE program, the barcodes on envelopes, those close doors going forward. But lawsuits are designed to prevent every one of those doors from closing before 2026 midterms. 2 men got caught lying 3 times. The system that let them vote for 4 years is still running in most of the country, and they wonder why we don't trust the honor system anymore. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.